Elon very clearly has said things that go far beyond just like, oh, Democrats are taking advantage of the Electoral College by allowing undocumented immigration. He could have easily said, okay, well, if that was the case, then Republicans would be advocating to end the Electoral College, but we both know that that would actually hurt them, and that's why they don't advocate for that. Palate cleanser? No.
Welcome to the Don Lemon Show, everyone. We're still here. In a minute, I'm going to bring you my conversation with Elon Musk, the one that everyone is talking about. But first, let me tell you a bit about the show. Contrary to what you might have heard.
No, I don't care.
Listen, we are here as part of the launch of a news interview show that is going to be on X.com. It's coming as the media industry, as you know, is going through a whole lot of changes. X has also been affected by that. Where do you see X.com's role in the future of news and journalism, Elon?
Well, I think I see the X as it's already the number one source of news in the world. So it is the number one way that people actually are informed about any kind of news, meaning real-time events, is on the X platform, formerly Twitter. There's nothing even close for real-time news. So we also want to expand upon that, and we have done so with long-form content. So instead of just doing what used to be called tweets, you can now do long-form posts. You can post an entire essay. In fact, you can now put an entire book, post an entire book to the.
You want me to start off with tweeting and drug use? This is where it goes off the hinges.
Listen, I'm not asking you anything that anyone else hasn't asked you about your controversial stuff that you tweet. You post a lot of controversial stuff. Is that?
Bro, this is the ugliest watermark I've ever done. Graced my eyes on. Okay. I've never seen such a ugly ass.
Considered blowing off steam
too. Like, what is this? It's like Venn diagrams. Like, what the fuck? What are they doing? And the color scheme is like awful too. Holy shit.
Well, I guess I do enjoy using the platform. I mean, I do call the X platform the PvP, or player versus player platform. So in video games, there's player versus like environment, where you're not playing against other people, and then there's PvP, which is like hardcore. You're actually playing against other people, and but that's blowing off steam for you.
I'm such a nerd. PvP, like playing against other people.
Yeah, yes. It is to some degree, not always. I mean, obviously I use it for to post jokes, to post sometimes trivia, sometimes things that are of great importance.
So you do a lot of it at night, like late at night. So when you're doing this, are you sober when you do it?
Almost always.
Are you under the influence of anything?
No, I don't drink. I don't really. No.
So you got no drink, no smoke, no nothing. I mean, you smoke pot with Rogan.
I had one puff.
Yeah.
I think anyone who smokes pot can tell I don't know how to smoke pot.
But you've had.
Do you drink and drive?
Admitted that you have a ketamine prescription.
Yeah.
What's that for?
Well, I mean, it's pretty private to ask somebody about a medical prescription, you know. But I think it's something I'd say, like, there are times when I have.
Dude, of course. Megaphonics. Can you slow it down by one tick? Elon talks in hurried phrases, and it's hard to understand. Of course, when we have fucking Elon prominently faced, Megaphonics has to be like, I want to savor this moment. I want to savor this fucking moment because I'm sorry, I'm going to fucking bust a nut, and I want to be able to take it all in.
Sort of I don't know, like a negative chemical state in my brain, like depression, I guess, you know, or like depression that's not linked to any negative views, and then ketamine is helpful for getting one out of a negative frame of mind. Well, listen, in fact, I generally, obviously I'm not a doctor, but I would say if someone has depression issues, they should consider talking to their doctor about ketamine instead of SSRIs.
Listen, I think that ketamine and drug therapy is increasingly becoming more.
Can you believe that Megaphonics sold his Tesla? Out of everyone, he sold his Tesla. Damn. Bro, they're calling you a faker in here, dude. Are you going to take that? You sold your Tesla? What the fuck? You're Mr. Ride or Die.
In the mainstream.
Yeah.
Do you think you're doing it under a doctor's care, right?
Yeah. Literally a prescription from a real doctor, not like, you know.
Yeah. But do you feel like you ever abuse it?
I don't think so. If you use too much ketamine.
By the way, I think like the fact that he's prodding on the ketamine use is pretty annoying. My controversial opinion on this is that like it's none of your fucking business, and two, ketamine does have uses. It's like relatively experimental, especially for people with like serious mental health problems. And I think that I do think that, like, especially if it's like doctor administered, it's like, come on. I mean, I hate him, and I do think that he's like probably, you know, I suspect he might be even doing more than he's supposed to be. But overall, like, this part of the interview is like the part that he got the most mad at, Elon did, but it's also like the least significant aspect of it.
I mean, you can't really get work done. So I have a lot of work. So I'm typically putting in like, 16-hour days. That's normal for me. And it's rare for me to even take off a weekend day. So I don't really have like, a situation.
Yeah, we know you're working real hard, bro. Motherfucker, we can see you posting tweets all day long. We know your ass ain't working. The fuck do you mean? The biggest lie ever told by bosses is that they're working super hard, okay? Like, the Venn diagram of people who were yelling at me about streaming being a hard job because they misunderstood what I was saying, and Elon Musk works really hard is a circle. Okay? Straight up.
Where I can be not mentally acute for an extended period of time. Like I can't really get wasted because I can't get my work done.
So how often do you take it?
Well, it'd be like a small amount once every other week or something like that.
But there's not on the bottle where it says take this dose this many times a week or whatever. If it's not
there's a dose. And there are several weeks will go by where I don't use it.
You don't use it.
Yeah, I think it's just, like I said. I think what I find kind of is if you're like literally like a chemical state in your brain that you can't just think yourself out of, then ketamine is helpful for getting you out of a depressive mind state.
You suffer from depression, or you have a depressive mind state? And I asked you as someone who has suffered from depression.
I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that I have like a case of like extended depression. It's just once in a while I get into a negative sort of chemical mind state. Once in a while, it's not a common thing, but once in a while this happens.
Where do you think that comes from?
I think it's just genetic, basically.
You think it's just genetic history?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, some people are just wired.
I think grilling him about his fucking prescribed drug use is crazy. Like, you're just relying on the broader public not knowing enough about ketamine for it to come across as controversial. It's fucked up. I do hate Elon Musk, as you guys know. It's not a secret, but this is like one issue where it's like weird that he's just like prodding.
Wired to be happy all the time. Some are unfortunately wired to be sad all the time. And in my case, I'm generally pretty positive and optimistic. But once in a while, I don't know what happens to some. Like I said, I think it's just chemical tides in your brain. Once in a while, it's like a brain storm.
Yeah. Do you ever?
It's also really funny because like Elon Musk has to come up with like a super cool reason as to why he's being treated with ketamine therapy for his clinical depression. It's like, yeah, it's because my mind is like a storm. You don't understand it. Your mind is not like a storm, but my mind is like one. And that's why I need it to tame what goes on in there. Sometimes when I'm sitting by myself, my thoughts, they scare me.
Worry that this may get in the way of your government contracts and clearances, and also and Wall Street as well?
Well, from a standpoint of Wall Street, what matters is execution.
Not really.
Are you?
For Elon, not necessarily. Because, like, obviously his execution has been dog shit with Twitter, but that hasn't impacted people's assessment of the Tesla stock.
Building value for investors. But Tesla is worth about as much as the rest of the car industry combined, from nothing. So that's pretty good. As I mentioned, we had the best-selling car on Earth last year. So from an investor standpoint, if there is something I'm taking, I should keep taking it.
Have you talk about your ketamine use and depression? Have you also have said, and
the reason I should say the reason I mentioned the ketamine prescription on the X platform was because I thought maybe this is something that could help other people. That's why I mentioned it.
Yeah. Can we talk about the great replacement theory now? some of the things that you post, a great replacement theory. You claim that Democrats, President Biden's immigration plan to open up the border, you said that the president is getting, and Democrats are doing it to get more votes. But undocumented immigrants cannot vote in federal elections, so how is that possible?
Right. Well, you're conflating two things. One is great replacement theory. The other is, which I don't subscribe to that. I'm simply saying that there is an incentive here. If legal immigrants, which I think have a very strong bias to, at least everything I've read, it's a very strong bias to vote Democrat.
Okay. How can illegal immigrants vote, Elon? Elon, how can they vote? They don't have documents, Elon. How can they vote? They have a very strong bias towards Democrats? Okay.
The more that come into the country, the more they're likely to vote in that direction. But it is, in my view, a simple incentive to increase voters, Democrat voters. And yeah, so the question is like how? So there's a few ways that this works. One,
it's so funny that this guy is like still celebrated as like a brilliant dude by the dumbest people you've ever seen in your entire life. It's like, dude, you have such a strong opinion on this matter, and you haven't even done any of the fucking reading. Like, you don't even know the racist talking points at this point. You're just like regurgitating what other dumb racists have said. Like, you didn't even fucking look through the talking points to come up with like an answer.
one is that when the census is done, the census is based on all people in an area, whether they are citizens or not. So if there are a concentration of people who came here illegally in a particular state or in a particular state, that state will actually then get an increased number of House seats. So the House seat apportionment is proportionate to the number of people, not the number of citizens.
Okay. The number of citizens. Okay. So how does that work for Texas then? Shouldn't Texas have like an incentive for more undocumented migrants? That doesn't make no sense.
So the illegals overwhelmingly go to places like California and New York.
No, they don't. They go to California, and they go to Arizona, and they go to Texas. They go to New York now. At least like we're talking about border crossers. 52% of undocumented migrants are visa overstayers, like Elon Musk himself. But Texas Texas hates undocumented migrants so much, they're shipping them to New York. 37,000 in Chicago, and even more in New York, if I'm not mistaken on the numbers.
And if you just look at the math, if you look at the apportionment with and without illegals, I believe California would lose. I believe the blue state, there would be a net loss of blue states of approximately 20 seats in the House. This also applies to the Electoral College. So you say, like, well, this also applies to electing the president, because the electoral votes are also done by apportionment the same way that House seats are done.
But the reason, Elon, the
Deliberately misrepresenting him? Me? Why? What is he saying? Listen, the only illegals I care about right now are those illegally watching the broadcast at the top of the hour when there's a 3-minute ad break. Okay? Don't be like that. Subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. Okay? No misrepresentations, no nothing. If you think a fucking chatter is going to catch me as a long-term community subscriber, hit me with a 2-parter. You can suck me, okay? You can suck me from the back. You understand? Yeah. Nope. Not today, son. Not today. Here's the 3-minute ad break now, bitch. Boom.
Electoral College is in place is to to balance that so that that doesn't happen. So what you're saying about it is the exact opposite of the reason why the Electoral College is there. The Electoral College at this point in our history gives people who are in smaller states and red states much more of an influence.
Yeah, let's abolish the Electoral College. Elon. Let's abolish the Electoral College, Elon, if undocumented migrants are getting too much. I like that he talked about 20 House seats that the Democrats would lose, which I don't know about that analysis to begin with, but what the fuck would happen in Texas then? Also, if this was so beneficial for the representatives there beyond the economic impact, why is Texas shipping them off then?
Over our elections than people who are in blue states, and the majority of the people in this country. That's what the Electoral College does. It actually does the exact opposite of what you're saying. It protects people who are in smaller states and protects people who are in...
If unauthorized immigrants were excluded from the appointment court, apportionment count, California, Florida, and Texas would... So it's actually 3. They would lose one less congressional seat than they would have been awarded based on population change alone. California would lose 2 seats instead of 1. Florida would gain 1 instead of 2, and Texas would gain 2 instead of 3, according to the analysis based on projections of Census Bureau 2019 population estimates. Oh, because of Florida's California's undocumented immigrant population percentage. Alabama, Minnesota, and Ohio would each hold on to a seat if they would have lost the apportionment based on total population change. In addition to these states, 11 more would gain or lose seats based on population change alone. Whether unauthorized immigrants are included or excluded, 5 seats would gain 1 each. Arizona, Colorado, Montana, North Carolina, Oregon. 6 states would lose 1 seat each. Illinois, Michigan, New York, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and West Virginia. So it's not 20. Elon isn't used to even mild pushback from someone as milquetoast as Don Lemon. So the proper counter to the idea that blue states gain seats is that red states would lose seats. No. Red states would gain seats. Blue states would lose seats. The problem is, however, if that was what was so beneficial for them, given that undocumented migrants, as Elon also loosely agreed to without openly stating it, then all these states would have an incentive to continue having more immigrants.
Red states.
Well,
the red states, because they tend to be smaller and less populous.
I think that statement is
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the solution is to abolish redistricting and also abolish the Electoral College.
what you said is true, but what I said is also true, which is that if, as is the case, a disproportionate number of legal immigrants go to blue states, they amplify the effect of a blue state vote. And the math, as I understand it, you can research this obviously very easily on it. It's pretty straightforward to research this. But my understanding is that there would be that the Democrats would lose approximately 20 seats in the House if illegals were not counted in the census, and that's also 20 less electoral votes for president. So
I mean, it's not wrong. It's wrong. The numbers are wrong, but it doesn't matter, because if that was the case, then they would fucking open up their red states could just easily open up their borders, or rather, you could just abolish the Electoral College if that's such a big fucking problem.
illegals absolutely do affect.
What exactly have you done? What exactly are you doing to help Palestine? Dude. I already ran the top of the hour ad break. Okay? I did. You see? That's what I mean. Stop. I already did it. Don't try to fucking debate me with this. I already did it. I already ran it. Okay?
Who controls the House and who controls the presidency. It does not affect the Senate.
Yeah. In blue states, you're talking about, I don't believe that your information on that is right. So listen, let's talk more about the Great Replacement, because the first time you posted on X about this Jewish conspiracy, you ended up apologizing.
I didn't call it a conspiracy. I just said that there's a simple matter of incentives. You don't need a conspiracy when you have basic incentives. In my view, there's a basic incentive that's fundamental that for the Democrat Party to foster and usher in a large number of illegals. And you don't need a conspiracy in that case because you have a very basic incentive. You could say I'm wrong about that incentive, but that's my view. I'm not buying some great replacement theory. I'm simply saying there appears to be a very clear incentive for Democrats to maximize the number of illegals because it helps them win elections.
I'm talking about the...
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Democrats are carting and courting undocumented migrants in their states so they can get like 5 fucking additional seats is so goddamn stupid. Okay. It's just idiotic. Doesn't make any sense because the Democrats win the majority vote. They literally would benefit from having elections be played out. They would do better if we did away with redistricting and remapped all of the fucking states with normal district boundaries rather than ones that benefit the Republican Party overwhelmingly. There are a couple cases where it benefits Democrats, but very few in comparison to how much Republicans benefit from redistricting. The reason why we count undocumented migrants in the census is because they're humans that live there. It's the same reason why we count prisoners in the census. Just because they don't have a vote does not change the reality that they're human beings. It's the same reason why we count people who are fucking like H-1B visa holders, right? Because they're still human beings. And therefore, they need access to certain funds. Okay? They're still going to utilize certain resources like roads as basic shit like that. Not only that, but they also we count people who are under the age of 18 as well, regardless of the fact that they can vote or not. It is so stupid. Yes, prisoners in the United States of America can't vote maybe in some states, but across the board, they can't. Elon is unironically doing like a 3/5 compromise style solution here. Like it makes no goddamn sense. Just because someone does not have the right to vote doesn't change that they're still a human being. Okay? And oh my God. Listen to this. Oh my God. Please stop. Stop telling me to cover Noah's video on starvation in Gaza. I'm not going to do it today. Okay? We've covered Israel, Palestine extensively today. Please. I think another thing that Elon Musk is discounting here is that population size counts for congressional seats, except Republicans get congressional seats in the state of California as well. But regardless, the reason why undocumented migrants, just like children under the age of 18, are counted in the census is because they're still human beings and we have to account for their existence when funding certain things. Okay? That's it. No matter how much that dumb fuck tries to claim it's for different reasons. And if it truly was an electoral problem, then the Republicans would be advocating to abolish the Electoral College.
The Great Replacement theory is also part of a Jewish conspiracy theory. And when you did the tweet, or you responded to the tweet about that, you ended up apologizing, and which I think is, it's good that you ended up apologizing. You went to Auschwitz with Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
Right? So you said you learned your lesson. What did you learn?
I said I learned my lesson.
You said you learned your lesson when you apologized, and you said you went to Auschwitz. You saw what.
No, I was already aware of these things. And the nature of my comment that
Congress season funding for something are not correlated. You can do both separately. Okay, let's fucking abolish the Senate then. The fuck do you mean, dumbass? Why the fuck does Wyoming get 2 senators? And so does California. Okay, fuck it. How about that? Two can play that goddamn game too. Yeah, I'm pissed. These motherfuckers are stupid. Oh, you're talking about Elon. I thought you were talking about me. I'm pissed too. This shit is so stupid, dude. Cows should be able to vote. Cows do vote. Wyoming votes like they have cows. 500,000 citizens, 2.5 million cows. The fuck are we doing? Hey, bruh. Yeah, I'm going to head out. Gave you a sub. Just to say again, I did think you came off a little anti-Semitic and mean-spirited in the H3 issue discussion. I said some dumb shit at first. My fault, but that's just my opinion. Gave you a sub. Good night, Mr. Piker. Kisses. No, I didn't come off as anti-Semitic, dumbass. Disagreeing with a Jewish friend of mine does not make me anti-Semitic. What the fuck are you talking about? I came across anti-Semitic. No, I didn't come across like that. You watched some other random drama farming dumb fuck by the name of Papa Goot. And now you came to that conclusion because you're fucking stupid. Okay? You're so stupid that you can't even fucking figure out how to do guest star in like 6 to 10 minutes. Jesus Christ. Motherfucker's still in here being like, oh, you just came across anti-Semitic. Yeah, dude, I know. Anti-Semitism is when you disagree with a Jewish person. And the more you disagree, the more anti-Semitic you become. Yeah, I disagree with Benjamin Netanyahu too. And in much more severe terms, by the way. So I guess I'm much more anti-Semitic on that front. Also, why the fuck are you subscribing to a dude who's anti-Semitic? Well, I mean, he is a Kanye fan, so. This conversation is so fucking stupid. I hate these idiots, but it's also very entertaining. Yeah, I know. Anyway, maybe he has the capacity to learn and change. Hopefully. I don't think he understands what a huge insult that is to someone like you, a good person, being anti-Semitic is disgusting. Exactly. Exactly. That's why it's gross. Like, it's one of the... It's just, like, so frustrating to just come in here and be like, oh, you came across as anti-Semitic. Like, get the fuck out of here.
That really inflame people. What I was trying to say, and I did very quickly clarify, this is what I'm saying, is that a number of prominent Jewish philanthropists fund groups that they should really take a closer look at funding, because some of the groups they fund, I think, are anti-Semitic.
Yeah. Do you understand the connection between the two? There's a connection between, you said Democrats, the Great Replacement theory, but when it comes to the actual Great Replacement theory, originally it was started about Jewish people, as you said, flooding in the country, and then now people are using it for Democrats, saying the same thing about Democrats. Flooding.
My view is a simple matter of incentives.
Yeah.
I actually don't see an incentive for Jewish people to want to have legal immigration. I don't think there is such an incentive.
The Great Replacement theory is a neo-Nazi trope.
So wait, why did he like the Jews are replacing the population tweet then, and said, I agree with it? I don't get it.
It's in the neo-Nazi manifesto. It's in the Turner Diaries. It's referenced by the Buffalo mass shooter in his manifesto, where 10 people, black people, were murdered in Buffalo. His actual title is the Christchurch Shooters Manifesto. 51 people in the Muslim mosque were murdered. 23 people murdered in El Paso by a shooter who used the same language that you use in that manifesto when you say Hispanic invasion. Is that not?
I didn't say an Hispanic invasion.
You quoted a tweet that called it a Hispanic invasion.
If I quote something, it doesn't mean I agree with everything in it. It's just something that I want.
You quote tweeted it by saying, I agree with this. You didn't like just quote tweet it. You quote tweeted with it and you said you agree with it. You also responded to a bunch of tweets that had the exact same sentiment displayed in it, that you said, that's so true. When he says concerning or interesting, I think he means like, I'm concerned with this tweet being on my platform. Yeah. With the great replacement, Jews are doing great replacement and it's coming back to bite them in the ass. His exact words were, you said the truth. This dog is dead, by the way. It's crazy how much she is sleeping way fucking harder. Yeah. Okay, Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of dialectical hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. I'm deeply disinterested in giving the tiniest shit now about Western Jewish populations coming to the disturbing realization that those hordes of minorities that support flooding their country don't exactly like them too much. You want the truth said to your face? There it is. 22,000 likes. Elon Musk turned around and responded to it and said, "You have said the actual truth." 37,000 likes. I guess he wasn't agreeing with it though. Or this video, while they have us distracted, this is the tweet in question. While they have us distracted, a massive caravan is marching to storm our border. This is not a crisis, it's an invasion. The scale of illegal immigration across the U.S. southern border is staggering. So when he, quote, retweeted "end wokeness" and said this and got 355,000 likes, I think he was saying like, I don't agree with it. That's why I'm only appearing to agree with it. And I'm saying I agree with it. There is no way out of this. Don Lemon, you're a fucking journalist. Well, kind of. Not really. Why don't you read out the tweet back to him and say, what did you mean by this?
I think this is something worth people should consider.
Why would you quote something that you didn't believe?
Because anything I quote is going to have a whole range of statements. Doesn't mean I agree with everything in it.
Do you think if you moderated yourself more, if there was...
No, don't move off this. Don't fucking move off that. No, don't give him an out. Oh, do you think you should moderate yourself more? No, you're just like bullying him now for being a dumbass. No, hit him where it actually hurts. God damn, dude. Don't, because the moment that you drop what he just said as a counter is the moment that you conceded. I hate when journalists do this shit.
Better content moderation on the platform, that you wouldn't have to answer these questions from reporters about the great replacement theory as it relates
I don't have to answer these questions.
Great replacement theory as it relates to Jewish people. Do you think that...
I don't have to answer questions from reporters. Don, the only reason I'm doing this interview is because you're on the X platform and you asked for it. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I would not do this interview.
So you don't...
Hacı Türk müsün sen? Hayır, değilim. Öğrendim sadece. Ben aslında hep yani Amerika'da büyüdüm ama çok neden bilmiyorum, öylesine öğrendim Türkçe konuşmayı falan. Ankara bebeleri gibi Türkçe konuşmayı öğrendim. Ama yok yani, Türk değilim abi.
Do you think that you wouldn't get in trouble or you wouldn't be criticized for these things?
I'm criticized possibly. I could care less.
You don't care?
No, I don't.
Meksikalıyım.
I don't think people should care what the media thinks about them.
They're
terrible judges of character.
Even someone who has one of the biggest...
He said, "Are you Turkish?" in Turkish. And I said, "No, I'm not. I just learned to speak Turkish because I was fascinated with the language. I'm actually from Mexico."
Social media and biggest information platforms in the world. You don't care? You don't think that you have any X.com or you have any responsibility to the truth or moderating the platform?
You're conflating the truth with the media, and I think the media is not truthful.
Well, not just the media. I mean, just the truth in general.
I care about the truth very much. That's why we have, for example, community notes on the X system, where in order for a community note to surface and provide corrective information about what somebody posts, and my posts are equally subject to this. I've been community noted many times. In order for a community note to surface, people who have historically disagreed must agree in order for a community note to surface. And all of the code for community notes is open source. All of the data is open source, so you can completely recreate it from scratch. The way to build trust is transparency.
I have noticed community notes. I think that you are right about that, and I do think community notes are helpful. I think any type of content moderation, I do think that's helpful. You recently called content moderation, though, a digital chastity belt. Do you think that, you believe that X and you have some responsibility to moderate hate speech on the platform?
I think we have a responsibility to adhere to the law, and we have a responsibility to be transparent about when things are shown, why they're shown. That's why we open source our algorithm. I think once you start going beyond the law, now you're putting your thumb on the scale. And we don't want to put out that on the scale.
It doesn't concern you that hate speech has gone. Research shows that it's gone up on the platform since you took over. That's not concerning to you?
I believe that is false. In fact, the research that I've seen says it went down.
The study from the Institute of Strategic Dialogue found that anti-Semitic tweets doubled from June 22 to February 2023. One study reported that as many as 86% of the posts reported for hateful content remained up after being reported. Hate speech on the platform is up.
So what they will typically do is they will count the number of posts, but not count the number of views. So what matters is, was that post given high visibility, or what did like one person see it? And if you look at the number of views of how many times was hate content viewed on our platform, it is down substantially.
Yeah. Well, that's not what the study shows. And you said you like transparency. I'm going to show you this. And
Don, you can get a study that will tell you whatever you want.
But these are just a handful of extremely. You look at those anti-Semitic and racist tropes and tweets, and as of this morning, they're still on X. And from your own content policy, these posts should have been deleted. So why haven't they been deleted? Why are they still there?
We delete things if they are illegal.
But these have been up there for a while.
Are they illegal?
They're not illegal, but they're hateful, and they.
So why did he restore the account of a dude who fucking watermarked the most like famous version of CSAM would be my question. Considering that like they posted it and they were banned, and then you petitioned to unban them.
They can lead to violence. As I just read to you, the shooters, in all of these mass shootings, attributed social media to radicalizing.
So Don, you love censorship, is what you're saying?
No, I don't love censorship.
Then why are you asking?
I believe in moderation, but I don't believe in
censorship. Moderation is a propaganda word for censorship.
But don't you think free speech is one thing, right? Or not,
Look, if something's illegal, we're going to take it down. If it's not illegal, then we're putting our thumb on the scale and we're being censors.
You're putting your thumb on the scale for moderating hate speech. I mean, you don't put out child pornography. That's not.
It's illegal.
Some people would say that's considered censorship. I'm just saying.
No, I literally, Don, I literally said, if something is illegal, okay, we will obviously remove it.
Okay.
Yeah. He's saying that he's hiding behind the legality argument as it pertains to anti-Semitic hate speech manifesting on his platform. Obviously, he has to remove it in like places like Germany. So the question should be, okay, I don't care about the legality. I care about what you think. Do you think this stuff is good to have on your platform? And if you like, do you agree that it should be illegal? It should continue to be legal. Do you disagree with the German argument? Why don't you fight against Germany? L streamer. This is true. I am an L streamer. I agree. You're L. You do agree with me. I am an L streamer.
But if it is not legal, the laws in this country are put forward by the citizens. We're a democracy. If those laws put in place by the people, we adhere to those laws.
Okay, I agree.
To the laws of others. If you go beyond the law, you're actually going beyond the will of the people.
Okay, agreed with the law. But if you are doing something that promotes hate and violence and ultimately leads to killing, you don't feel you have any responsibility not to do that? When the people who are doing it admittedly are saying
there's articles all the time that lead to violence and killing. Don't they? Shouldn't they? Like, you're applying a differential standard to.
But that would never be in mainstream media. These types of images, that type of language, those things would never be. We'd never. When I was in mainstream media, we'd never promote things that would be anti-Semitic. We would never promote things that would.
Either.
Did you not see those?
You said promote. If content is on the platform, that doesn't mean we promote it.
But that wouldn't be on a platform for mainstream media at all.
No, but you can think of that's because mainstream media has like, whatever, 20 articles a day. We have 500 million posts today.
Okay,
500
understood.
million.
Does it bother you? How do you feel about that when you see it?
I obviously disagree with that. I think it's not good at all. It's terrible.
But you don't want to get rid of it on the platform, or at least moderate it.
The rules. What you're suggesting is censorship that goes beyond the law. And what I'm saying is that we, I guess, have a disagreement, because I do not believe.
I'm shocked at how he's having a hard time with his fucking dumbass. Because he's not a very smart guy. Like, even like earlier in the conversation, he's talking about like great replacement. Elon very clearly has said things that go far beyond just like, oh, Democrats are taking advantage of the Electoral College by allowing undocumented immigration. He could have easily said, okay, well, if that was the case, then Republicans would be advocating to end the Electoral College, but we both know that that would actually hurt them, and that's why they don't advocate for that. So clearly, this is beyond such sensibilities. It has something to do with the race, the perceived race of what the undocumented migrants are, which you know as well, because you've talked about the culture of the people that are coming in, or at least agreed with the culture argument of the people that are coming into the country on numerous times. Another another area where he flubbed was like his own personal assessment. Like he should have held his feet to the fire, held him accountable for the things that he said, specifically as it pertains to the great replacement boosting that he's done, the narrative that like migrants are invading the country, things of that nature. He should have just fucking read back directly to him his quote retweet. Beyond that, he should have also, talked about, especially like the illegal stuff. He should have asked them why he personally played a role in reinstating the account of Dom Lucre, a person who watermarked his own child sexual abuse material. Child sexual abuse material that is so famous, so infamous, that having it on your computer immediately puts you in prison. Okay? Dom Lucre not only has it, he watermarked it and he distributed it on your platform, and you personally played a role in reinstating his account. So, what's going on there? Why'd you do that? That was illegal.
And censorship that goes beyond the law, and you do. We have a difference of opinion in that regard.
I understand that, but these are your own rules on your own platform. These go against the rules on your platform. That's why I'm asking you. If you said, listen, we allow everything, but that's not what your content rules say, and that's why I'm asking you, why are they still there? Your own content policy. That's why I'm asking you that, not because.
Which part about content policy says that we should delete these things?
Your content policy talks about hate speech.
Yes, we don't promote hate speech.
And so you don't consider that hate speech?
I guess you're not understanding what I'm saying. If there's, you can find, like, you can sign up right now and do 100 things that are hateful. But if nobody reads it, it doesn't matter.
That's your argument? Okay, what if everybody reads it? Then you're technically promoting it, I guess. Also, you have personally promoted hate speech. What the fuck? God, that's so stupid. That is such a dumb fucking argument. Oh my God. Dude, this is literally Mr. Bonicello's argument about saying the N-word in the vacuum of space if no one is there to hear it. Also ironic because Mr. Bonarelli also says it in public on the Twitter platform known as X, formerly known as Twitter, all the time. But on the principle, he's talking about it. He's talking about it like it's only happening in a fucking vacuum.
So you can think of X as being, it's much like the internet. It's not some tiny publication with like 20 articles a day. It's 500 million.
But everyone has the opportunity to read it, Elon.
I think everyone has the opportunity to read the internet. Are you suggesting we should shut down the internet?
No, but you don't own the internet. I'm asking you about you and your responsibility on your platform. And so I see how you feel now. You don't agree. We don't agree on this.
Yes, you want censorship and I don't.
No, I don't want censorship at all.
Yes, you do.
No, I want responsibility. I think
You desperately want censorship.
No, if I want censorship.
You want censorship so bad you can taste it.
No, that's not true. It's not true. I think that there's right and wrong. And I think that when you have a platform that's as big as yours and as powerful as yours and as influential as yours, and you are a person of consequence to the world with what you do, that there is a certain responsibility that goes along.
No, boo boo. You want censorship. I know it. Like literally fucking child brain. Sometimes I say, perhaps falsely, that a lot of these guys act dumb so that they can appeal to a much dumber audience because stupid people are easier to sell to. This is not one of those moments. I think Elon Musk is just that fucking dumb. Like, I think he is that stupid. I'm realizing that. I think he just lucked into how perfectly stupid he is in the ways that he is. That, like, he is so appealing to even dumber people.
Along with what you have on your platform and what you put out to the world. And I think that's important. You don't see that responsibility.
I think we have a responsibility to adhere to the law. And if people want the law changed, they should talk to their elected representative and get the law changed, and then we will adhere to the law.
Okay.
But if you want us to go beyond the law, that is us deciding to be censors. And I'm against censorship. I'm in favor of freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And freedom of speech only is relevant when people you don't like say things you don't like. Otherwise, it has.
He's also personally talked about shadow banning or limiting the reach of certain kinds of content. So he definitely is making that decision personally, despite acting like he's not. Or maybe he isn't. I don't know.
It's no meaning.
But I do think that there should be guardrails. And I believe in free speech as much as you. I would fight. I don't disagree. I don't agree with a lot of what you put out on social media, but I will fight for your right to be able to say it.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, so listen, let's talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. All right, that's been a target of yours lately on X. There was a repost of Ben Shapiro that you claim that DEI is killing people. Specifically, you point to medicine. You claim that DEI programs are putting people at risk. Do you really believe this to be true? And what evidence do you have to support it?
What I was referring to there was that if we lower the standards for doctors, such so that they, if the test for a doctor is lowered, then the probability of them making a mistake and killing someone.
I really think Don Lemon is a bad person to do this interview with. I think he's doing a bad job. I am not confident that he's going to do a good job of like defending DEI or whatever. And I kind of don't want to watch the rest of this interview at all. But I'll continue.
It's obviously going to be higher.
Wait, say that again. I'm not sure I understand what you said. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
Yes, if the standards for passing medical exams.
Who'd be the best? I would do a much better job of interviewing Elon Musk. I mean, it would never happen for that reason. But yeah. $100%.
And becoming a doctor, or especially something like a surgeon, if the standards are lowered, then the probability that the surgeon will make a mistake is higher. They're making mistakes in their exam. They may make mistakes with people, and that may result in people dying.
What evidence do you have, though, that they're lowering the standards? There's no evidence of that.
I believe there is.
Stop glazing yourself. I'm not even like a particularly good interviewer necessarily. I'm just simply saying that I would do a much better job than Don Lemon, who I think is doing a bad job. There are certainly people who would be better than myself. I don't think that this is like a glaze sesh for myself.
There's no evidence of that, Elon. What is the evidence?
I believe they have literally lowered the status at Duke University, and that is what the article was referring to.
There's no
you
evidence.
Say they have not lowered the status?
There's no evidence about lowering standards, and I think that there is.
I believe that is a false statement you're making.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I think
the interesting thing is,
what do you mean?
When is this posted on the X platform?
Ask him, push him on that. What do you mean, lowering the standards? Why do you think we are lowering the standards? Why do you think that automatically, like, black and brown people, if that's where gripe with DEI, why is it that with the automatic assumption that the standards are being lowered when they're considered? What are the standards? What do you think the standards are? That someone needs to be white, or at least like close in proximity to whiteness? What the fuck? What standards? First of all, considering that medical racism is such a severe problem that it is literally taught in medical school, examples such as, having to teach doctors not to underprescribe black people painkillers, pain medication specifically, is such a glaring, obvious issue that they literally teach it in med school. Don't you think that the standards would automatically improve by having at least more black doctors, at least for black people, the standards would improve. This does not mean that black doctors cannot treat white patients, but across the board. What do you mean they teach it in medical school? There's a class in med school. I think it's called the ethics in medicine, if I'm not mistaken. That I don't know what the exact. I don't know the exact name of the class is, but they teach this in. They teach this in medical school. They teach it for public health. They teach it for anything that touches the medical realm. Even the Fox Business article about this exchange doesn't cite any evidence for what Elon Musk is claiming. People will die. So you're talking shit, Lamau? Wait, what? Talking shit? Talking shit in what regard? Healthcare inequality or healthcare inequity is absolutely something that is taught to doctors. And the reason for why it's taught to doctors is because there is a lot of healthcare inequality. Just look at like black maternal mortality rates, for example, during pregnancy in comparison to white women, and you will understand it. Or look at the history. You can't even quote what you're talking about in healthcare. You don't think that there is empirical evidence that backs my point? So you must not know. I just gave you. What are you talking about? I literally just gave you. I just gave you one very clear example. I gave you two. I talked about pain treatment specifically for black people. Black people on average are perceived to have a much higher level of pain tolerance. This is actually objectively untrue. This is precisely the reason why most doctors have to be taught not to underprescribe black people, is precisely what I said. This is one aspect of ethics in medicine that is taught in school. Okay? That's number one. Number two, then I talked about the healthcare outcomes for black women, for example, black maternal mortality rate in comparison to white mothers in the United States of America. In 2021, the maternal mortality rate for non-Hispanic black, subsequently black women, was 69.9 deaths per 100,000 live births, 2.6 times the rate for non-Hispanic white, subsequently white women. Unless you think the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is not a good place to look for this kind of empirical evidence. The inconsistency in medicine in a developed nation like the United States of America is only born out of the lack of adequate care. This one, by the way, this is one example. Oh yeah, medical ethics and professionalism. Medical ethics and professionalism, MA 750. First, your required course provides an overview of major ethical issues that arise in the practice of medicine, medical education, and medical research. After an initial whole class introductory session in amphitheater, the course is taught in separate sections of 10 to 11 students, run in a graduate seminar format. They introduce students to the core elements of ethical reasoning around issues such as confidentiality, truth-telling, genetic testing, rationing, professional boundaries, conflict of interest, informed consent and treatment of research, and end-of-life care. Readings are required for the preparation of each session. Here is a PubMed article on racial bias in medicine. Racial bias in pain assessment and treatment recommendations and false beliefs brought about biological differences between blacks and whites. Where's that chatter? What's this chatter's username? Currently in medical school, definitely an emphasis on health disparity in the curriculum. Also, people are falsely equating getting into medical school with graduating residency, in which the requirements of training are very rigid. But where is it taught? I'm said you couldn't remember, but where is it taught is where I'm said, where I'm at. You said you couldn't remember. No, I said I couldn't remember the exact name of the class in medical school, in med school, which differs from med school to med school. But the examples I gave you should, if you were smart enough to understand how communication works, you would have already came to the conclusion very quickly when I gave you not one, but two very common examples of the types of ethics in medicine that is taught to not only doctors, but also anyone that is involved in healthcare, including public health, okay? That would have allowed you to, through deductive reasoning, through logic, that I know what the fuck I'm talking about, and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, okay? But you hyper-focused on me saying, I can't remember the exact name of the class, which, by the way, I was pretty close on, regardless, to imply that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Then you snarkily said, tell us, so you must know. In the process of which I also gave you the exact data on what the disparities are, specifically on black maternal mortality rates in comparison to white maternal mortality rates. And you're still hitting the, oh, you just didn't remember. No, you didn't understand. See, the difference is you're stupid. And now you've made your stupidity everyone else's problem. Do you get it? I'm here to tell you that as a stupid person, you can do what many stupid people do, myself included. When I'm out of my element, you know what I do? I do a whole lot less of this and do a whole lot more of this. I shut the fuck up and I listen, and maybe I learn some new things. Okay? Do you understand? I know your parents probably, as an American citizen, if you are an American, I don't know, maybe told you that your opinions are perfect and special and that they must be heard no matter what. Okay? And people have to address what you have to say no matter how stupid those opinions are. Okay? But sometimes you need a little bit of medicine. Okay? You need a little bit of medicine. Like you. Exactly. Like me. There are many instances where I'm stupid and out of place. And I recognize that. So I shut the fuck up and I listen. You are in that pocket right now, but instead of shutting the fuck up and listening, you're still thinking that you're owning me. You are too stupid to recognize that you are the one who is being owned. Now, let me tell you something. Okay? This is how you will become a smarter person. I promise. You will become a smarter person by not doing this every fucking time. I promise. Even if you're not a smart person, other people won't recognize that you're stupid if you don't speak out of turn like this. Do you get it? It's a really, really cool way. It's a really cool way to make people think with this one simple trick. It's a really cool way to make people think that you're actually much more intelligent than you actually are. It's called shutting the fuck up and not letting everyone else around you in your immediate vicinity learn exactly how fucking stupid you are. I promise. It is a life hack. I'm giving you the how-to. Now here's the thing. I don't think you're going to listen to me. I have a feeling you did not learn this lesson, but I hope it sticks with you. Okay? Even if you don't practice it right now, if you try it tomorrow or the day after, you might like the results. People will think you're cool and mysterious. You know what I mean? Instead of people will know how fucking dumb you are. Yeah. Allow others to imagine your intelligence by keeping quiet rather than opening your mouth and removing all doubt. There you go. You are correct. It is called ethics education and is part of curriculum in medical schools. Anyway. Hopefully this was an educational moment for many in the chat as well. Not to just like not come up against me, because there might be instances where you guys know more than me on a particular subject matter. This is not one of them. Although if there are current MD students, they will probably know more than me, but I doubt that any current MD student would come in here and fucking tell me that the ethics courses that are taught in their curriculum is actually non-existent in order to win a fucking Reddit argument. Anyway. Now, the reason why I talked about ethics in medicine to begin with was because I wanted to explain to people that, yes, across the board standards would raise, specifically for black patients, if there were more black doctors. Black people are historically and currently marginalized in this country. So having black doctors would do away with some of the necessity for medical ethics being taught. Because after all, no matter how well you learn a particular subject, there's still going to be gaps in your knowledge. So that would raise the standards. I've given you one example of how standards would raise in this circumstance. As far as I understand, there are no standards that would be lowered by opening up avenues so there are more black and other non-white doctors.
There will be a whole bunch of things that rebut what you said and what I said,
Right.
and so people can then make their own decision based on the replies, the rebuttals, and the community notes.
I think that's fair, but I do think that on this particular topic, I do think that you and Ben Shapiro are reaching in about this, because there was what Ben posted said that he gave instances of people who were delicate. Nowhere in the thread does Ben suggest at all, I should say, that anyone is being killed as a result of DEI. That's purely speculative. There's research on DEI and medicine, and there's no evidence that standards are being lowered, that DEI is affecting medicine. Actually, only 5% of doctors are black, and a small percent.
Yeah, well, I think you'll find that when this is posted to the X platform, that people will reply to it with evidence.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see.
Okay. So, but
Don't worry, Don. They'll post the racist evidence in the replies. You know, in the community notes. Which, by the way, if they go against me and you put them on my tweets, I will delete them. Which he has done, by the way.
that's my whole thing about moderation. Maybe you're wrong, but you'll put it out there. You don't know if it's right. Do you think that your responsibility to make sure something is right before you, the person who owns it, Elon Musk, who's a huge figure in the world, that you should know that it's true, that there are people at X who can get research for you before you put something out there like that? That's not necessarily true, even in other examples.
If I say something that is inaccurate, I'm immediately corrected on the platform. That's the advantage of a real-time system like X. So there'll be immediately in the replies, people.
I can't tell if he's a racist Nazi or just too stupid for advanced thought. He's a racist Nazi and he's too stupid for advanced thought. Because at least if he was like a racist Nazi and a little bit more intelligent, he would have like Don Lemon is not exactly an intelligent interlocutor who's clearly capable of like destroying the false narratives that you're presenting. That much I have seen from his performance thus far. So if you were even a little bit smarter, you could at least give him like fake information or false information, cherry pick data or something like that. You know, if you did your racist reading, you would at least be able to like own him in the marketplace of ideas. You could talk about the bell curve or any number of different things that I'm sure he would not have a quick enough counter for. He's not that stupid. How else would he have that much money? I'm a fucking idiot. I have more money than your dad. I have more money than most fucking college professors, most researchers, and I'm a fucking dumbass. What does money have to do with anything? The fuck?
People correcting me. There'll be a community note that will correct me, which is attached to the actual post itself.
Do you think as many people read the?
Yes.
You think as many people read that as it reads your tweet?
Yes, in fact, and if there's a community note that happens later that or somebody didn't see, but they replied to that or interacted with that post, we will notify them that there is now a community note correcting that post.
Just so you.
Whereas if you consider the conventional media, that doesn't happen. Conventional media makes false statements all the time and nobody ever hears the correction.
Oh my God. Of course they put fucking retractions in the articles themselves, which is literally the same principle behind community notes. What the fuck are you talking about?
When I was in conventional media, I can only.
Yeah, my brother is literally a fucking rocket engineer. And I have a shit ton more money than he does. He's a lot smarter than me. I'm going to tell you. Literally builds spaceships, okay? Unlike Elon Musk, who LARPs as a person who builds spaceships. My brother actually does build spaceships, rocket ships. Thinking that money has to do... Thinking that money signifies intelligence is the dumbest thing on the fucking planet. You automatically take an L. You automatically take a fucking L to the likes of Kylie Jenner. Do you think Kylie Jenner is infinitely more intelligent than you?
Only speak for myself. If I got something wrong, or if someone got something wrong on the platform that I was on, it was corrected, and we made sure that it was corrected. Now, I can't speak for anyone else.
I don't think that's a universal situation.
Okay. So I just want the research. So when you talk, do you believe that people are dying because medical standards, DEI is causing medical standards to be lowered? Do you actually believe people are dying because of that?
I believe that if we lower the standards for what it takes to become a doctor.
You're saying if we lower the standards,
yes.
But do you believe people are dying because the standards are being lowered?
I don't think that is yet an issue, but it could become an issue.
Okay. But the actual evidence in history shows the exact opposite. If you look at how minorities were treated by the medical system, most doctors now are white, and there are lots of mistakes in medicine. So you're saying that white doctors have bad medical care? I'm trying to understand your logic here when it comes to DEI, because there's no actual evidence of what you're saying.
No, I said, so if the standards, like let's say, I think that particular.
Dude, so much of right-wing grievance is literally, I made up this problem and it scared me in my mind. So now you have to address it. Address what? The problem I made up in my mind that scared me. But think about how scary it was when I made up this problem. I don't want to deal with your demons, man. Like, you got to deal with it on your own. Back in the day, at least there was like some decency, you know? Not every dumb fuck with an anonymous account could come in and chirp and make it your problem. Like that one fucking chatter. What was it? Total Outlaw or whatever? Where the fuck did that guy go? The fuck was his username? Did you guys ban him? Oh, come on. I hope you didn't ban that guy. The one that was like, you didn't know. You couldn't come up immediately with the... I'm going to be so disappointed if you guys banned him, mods. Oh, you didn't. Oh, he just said no and left. They are invading due to Biden letting them for votes, and you get off on hanging on all their shirt tails to support your stream. There should be freedom of speech. Wait, what? Your mods have started banning all the phone people? We didn't even ban this guy. He just left on his own. I guess he hates free speech. I don't know.
Things referring to surgeons. Let's say a surgeon is asked to, a surgeon in training is asked to do a series of operations under the supervision of a senior surgeon, and they get a bunch of those operations wrong. If that happens, and yet they are still approved to be a surgeon, the probability that someone will die, I think, at some point is high.
Okay.
Okay, but you just made up a hypothetical that has nothing to do with what is going on. Like, dude. Okay, right-wing argumentation. Are you ready? I made up a problem in my mind and it scared me. Now it's your issue to deal with. Then you go, okay, but that's not what's going on. Then you go, well, what if in this hypothetical that I created in my mind where the problem does exist, right? What do you do then? And it's like, okay, but you made that problem up. He's using an analogy to describe the DEI standards. I know, but that doesn't work because that's not what the DEI standards are. That's not a real thing. That's the issue. Yeah, okay. Here's why this level of argumentation is so stupid, okay? What if, because the counter to that is me going, what if in my hypothetical, white doctors are slaughtering people and then black doctors are much better than white doctors? What then, Elon? Don't you want all the doctors to be black then? Logically, you should want every single doctor to be a black doctor in that situation, right? Because both of these arguments are just completely made up. He just made up an argument where he's right. It's very stupid.
I understand that, but that's a hypothetical. That doesn't mean it's happening.
I didn't say it's happening.
You didn't say it was happening.
I said it will. I said if we lower standards, people will die.
He's also doing Mott and Bailey. Like, you're not talking about lowering standards. You're saying DEI lowers standards, which there's no evidence for. Okay? Your fake argument made black doctors look dumb. Wait, what? The fuck?
But why respond to something or put something out there that has not happened? Because I could say,
Because I don't want it to happen. I think we don't want to lower standards.
okay, if you look at the history of the medical industry, especially when it comes to black Americans, it shows the exact opposite. If you look at the Tuskegee experiment and on, only 5% of doctors are in America.
Like, Megaphonics is right. I can't believe I'm saying this. He's doing mental gymnastics to avoid coming across as overtly racist by tying the lower standards thing to DEI. So what Don Lemon should be doing here is, can you explain to me exactly what you mean by lowering standards when you associate it with diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives? Like, exactly, in your own fucking words, what do you mean? Like, it's so obvious that he has to exist in this, like, otherwise very liberal space as a billionaire, because when you get to that point, it's like you can't be like overtly racist, because now you're limiting the audience that you can sell shit to, regardless of how fucking racist you are personally. So he's trying to be a right-wing charlatan while simultaneously not say directly what he means. So he just keeps going, oh, well, actually, Democrats are bringing in undocumented migrants because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break, and Democrats want the undocumented migrants to avoid said ads by subscribing for $5 or for free. You know what I mean? This feels exactly like a Jordan Peterson interview during the Bill C-16 thing. No, it's worse. Because at least Jordan Peterson has done the reading to like be able to come up with like racist secondary conclusions and like he's done the racism. He's read the racism manga. He didn't just watch the anime. Okay. And Jordan Peterson back in the day at least did a good job of never being pinned down on a question, but would like simultaneously hit the liberal adjacent notes in a way that didn't offend the sensibilities of other like racist people or bigoted people that also still wanted to maintain the facade that they are liberals. That's what I mean when I say Elon doesn't even have the talking points. Elon doesn't even have the racism talking points. He didn't read the he didn't even watch the racism anime. He basically like saw the racism anime, like snippets of it, and is just like trying to recall moments from the racism anime. He didn't even read the manga. He did not read the original stories. He knows nothing. Yeah, he did one of those like TikTok summarizations that's like 3 minutes long for fucking 8 seasons of an anime. Basically, if the anime is the racism anime, he went and watched that TikTok and is now trying to repeat what he remembers from it. And it's odd. Yeah, doesn't know the story. His parents were there when it was written. Exactly. That's why it's odd, because his dad is like direct, close, and personal relationship. Elon does too, with the racism manga, right? Like he was there when they were writing. The mangakas were putting it together. At least the South African version of it. Weird. Very intellectually lazy as far as racism goes. Very offensive to me.
Are black. All of them are white. So are you saying that if the majority of doctors are white, are you saying that and there's still these inequities, right? And there's still mistakes. Are you blaming DEI for that?
No, I'm very basically saying that if we lower standards for what it
Yes, dude, just ask him what he means by lowering standards for DEI. Just ask him that.
takes to become a board-certified surgeon or, an oncologist or something where the kind of disease we're talking about, if you make a mistake, causes someone to die, then
Okay, what would lead you to believe that DEI is doing that?
more people will die than if we don't lower the standards. Therefore, we should not lower the
But
standards.
why do you think they're lowering the standards for minority doctors or women doctors or?
That's what that's what that article suggested. Yes, at Duke University.
Okay. The evidence that I have shows that that's not true. So
Okay.
listen, after the door blew off this,
Wait, what? That's it? Don't move on from that. Don't move on from that at all. That thing he's talking about isn't even real, by the way. I Googled Duke University DEI lower standards, expecting this on some right-wing rag covering it, and I found absolutely nothing. Does anyone have the article? I want to look at it. Because Duke literally has DEI initiatives. Number one, Duke University, specifically the School of Medicine, also has diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Like literally every fucking college does.
There's advertisers.
This is not an article. This is Ben Shapiro talking shit. DEI in medicine means that if doctors injure patients, they might still be protected, even promoted. Like, this is made up. This is what Elon was saying. This is just made up. Ben Shapiro made this up. I can't stress this enough. This is not an article. This is a guy talking shit. Okay? Like, in a very racist way. You cannot source this. You cannot point to a Ben Shapiro Twitter thread. Primary evidence from the goat? Yeah. You're right. My bad. My mistake. This is the post in the thread he's citing. Both UPenn and Liu's medical school, Wake Forest, have attempted to hide Liu's hiring. What? None of this is a fucking... None of this destroys DEI at all. This is not a fucking study. This is, again, Ben Shapiro cherry picking fucking data. I'm losing my goddamn mind. Ramon adds that post George Floyd, Duke made a concerted effort to stop hiring so many walls of white men. He says the team is now abandoning all sorts of metrics and adopting completely holistic application practice in order to recruit more women and non-white surgeons. Oh my God. If your argument is a fucking 1 minute and 52 seconds from a Zoom call about some motherfucking doctor being like, we are actually going to adopt a different metric for how we recruit more women and non-white surgeons. If that is your literal fucking argument, you are the dumbest person on the planet. Okay? You still have to go to medical school. You still have to do residency training. There are so many different qualifications that you have to go through before you can become a fucking surgeon. Do people think that let's think this through. Do you think that like now medical school is going to be like, "Oh, you're black? Don't worry, you don't have to study. Don't worry, you don't have to learn the anatomy. You're black after all." Do you think that it's just like, "Oh, you're black? Well, let's fast track you to being a surgeon. You pass." They're like, "Oh man, the blacker you are, the more quickly you pass." Okay? Logic is going to have a hard time. Just like that's how it works. Here's another thing. One guy saying they're going to adopt a more holistic application practice doesn't mean that they're actually doing that anyway. You don't know what that means. One, you don't know what that is going to look like in practice. Two, it's just like when people look at the World Economic Forum saying shit like, we need to lower our carbon footprint. And then people going, they are Satan spawn that want to do socialism and permanent first world genocide. No, they do not. They're simply saying that they want to lower carbon emissions. They're doing that for marketing. Okay? That's it. Following our investigation, Duke Medical School is taking down the videos, and one of his doctors, Vignesh Raman, admitted to abandoning all sorts of metrics and hiring surgeons for the sake of DEI. Unfortunately for Duke, we save copies. As Elon Musk aptly put it, DEI puts the lives of your loved ones at risk. We reached out to Duke, Raman, North Carolina Attorney General, for comment, and are in touch with the U.S. Representative Bishop, who intends to ensure the laws are fully enforced. Oh my God. This is what politics is in the United States of America. This is what it has become. This is it. I heard something that a dude said in a Zoom call. I'm mass blasting it out into the world to fit my narrative. And now we got to get other people involved. We got to get them to look into it. Because it seems like this is going to cause people to get butchered.
Mid-flight, Miss Alaskan Airlines flight, do you remember that? You responded to a post claiming that the average HBCU grad was less intelligent than the average airline pilot, and stated that it will take an airplane crashing and killing hundreds of people for them to change this crazy policy of DIE. I don't know if did you misspell it on purpose, which it should be DEI. Do you believe that women and minority pilots are inherently less intelligent and less skilled than white male pilots?
No, I'm just saying that we should not lower the standards for them.
Okay. But there's no evidence that standards are being lowered when it comes to the airline industry.
You've repeatedly said that there's no evidence that standards are being lowered, and watch the replies showing all the evidence that it is.
That's not an argument, man. You can't have an opinion this strong, that is this nonsensical, that is this bigoted, and then your reply to it is, well, my reply guys on Twitter got me. That is fucking crazy. What the fuck? Do you not have a single thought of your own? I mean, he's literally saying, like, I don't know these things, but the dudes on Twitter who are like much more racist than me, that did the racist reading, have the replies for you. Okay, well, you are having a conversation with another guy. Oh my God, this is literally the Bonarelli versus Norman Finkelstein debate all over again. A guy that's like completely out of his element, completely just oblivious, trying to talk to a guy who's also, I mean, with Norm is obviously incredibly intelligent, especially as it pertains to encyclopedic knowledge of everything that has happened in Gaza. But like, he literally is turning around and going, openly admitting like, well, I don't even have the talking points. I got fucking Twitter shooters though, and they will give you the talking points. It's like, why did you say it then? Why did you agree with it? Why, like, do you not have a single independent thought in your own mind? What the fuck is happening? You should be embarrassed to retort like this. I originally didn't want to watch this video, but I'm glad I did, because holy fuck, it's so much dumber than I thought. He is so much dumber than I thought. And Don isn't even that good at like holding this conversation.
So on social media or on Twitter are not necessarily fact and evidence.
No,
that's people's
they will
opinion.
cite
Okay.
all the reply, in the
But
reply.
why can't you cite it? You have a firm conviction that DEI lowers standards. You do not have any evidence to back up this firm conviction, and you keep saying that like in the future, my reply guys will save me. That's not how an intelligent person presents their fucking argument. You should have at least like fake come up with some quotes, just fucking lie. Don isn't even good enough to call you out for those lies. I'm in awe that whenever he's backed into a fucking corner, he's like, I don't got the information, but you know who does? Hypothetically, in the future, people who reply to me will have the evidence.
To this, you will see how often the information is cited showing that indeed there are significant cases where standards are lowered.
And I do hope that happens. I do hope that happens, and I look forward to it. And as you said, if you're wrong, then you're...
What the fuck are you saying? No, you don't hope that happens. No, you don't hope that you get false information in Elon Musk's replies from 12-year-old Nazis online. I hope that Don would go, that's a ridiculous way to argue your point, that you have just no evidence for this point whatsoever, and you don't even have evidence of the evidence existing. Like, that's the funniest part, okay? The funniest part is that he doesn't even point to anything, like not even a thing that he hasn't read, you know what I mean? Like, there's no replies right now. He's saying in the future there will be. So we don't even know if there's any fucking racist Nazis that'll come up with a fucking baseless or cherry pick data points. What an incredible fucking thing. What an incredible way to argue. So we started off with a hysterical perspective that this person has, that he hallucinated. We moved on to an example that he made up that proves that this could happen. Zero evidence thus far. And now when Dom pushes him even a little bit on like, okay, so where's the evidence for DEI lowering standards? Here, I'm telling you that like there's no evidence for it. Actually, there's evidence of contrary. He turns around and says, well, there will be evidence in the future. That is incredible. He didn't even point to anything. But you already have arrived at the conclusion without any evidence whatsoever.
You're wrong, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong.
Yes.
Okay, so and I'm glad we're having this conversation, debate. This is what we should be doing, debating the issue. So if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong, and then I'll be proven in the thing, and you as well. But I just want to tell you that pilot that you talked about, in fact, was a woman pilot, landed the plane safely, despite the major malfunction with the equipment. Boeing has taken responsibility for that incident, saying that it was caused by a faulty door panel. So I'm not sure what that had to do with lowering the standards for pilots when it was a faulty...
No, it's not lowering standards for pilots. It's the incentive structure, I believe, at Boeing changed to include DEI as a fundamental executive incentive. So, but
Oh, it was DEI at Boeing that actually caused it. Oh, when he said it was DEI that's going to kill people, he meant DEI at Boeing. That's really interesting. Okay. Do you know the demographic makeup of Boeing and how that has shifted over the years? Okay. Or has it shifted over the years? Do you have any idea? Or do you think that do you think that it hasn't changed much at all? And as a matter of fact, especially in the executive office, or what has changed in Boeing is they're hyper focused on profits, something that Elon knows personally. You weren't talking about Boeing DEI. You were talking about the airplane pilot doing DEI.
in my view, it should be purely about passenger safety.
Okay, but do you understand how by...
He should ask him, is it DEI that SpaceX keeps blowing up so many fucking rockets? He should ask specifically when Elon's own personal motivations for not building a launch pad that could withstand a shit ton of heat and pressure that caused concrete to fly everywhere in one of their failed launches, including potentially the fuselage, right? Like the body of the rocket that literally had pieces of fucking concrete falling on cars miles away. Was that a DEI initiative? Is it because they hired a South African man? Is that what happened there? Are you a DEI hire, Elon? Why did you suggest that? Why did you suggest the shitty launch pad? Why were you so adamant about the shitty launch pad that caused a shit ton of destruction and maybe linked to your own fucking rocket failing? Tesla itself has a DEI report as well. Of course, I mean, maybe they stopped it, but this is 2020. Perhaps that's the reason why the FSD is such a fucking failure.
Saying just that standards are being lowered, that you're implying that they're being lowered because people are less skilled and less intelligent, and you're talking about people of color and or women.
Look, I'm saying we should not lower standards.
But you don't...
That's it.
I think everyone can agree that you shouldn't lower standards.
Right. That's
But you're implying that they're lowering standards because of people of color or women, because someone is not a white male. You're saying that they're less skilled and less intelligent. That's what
No,
you're
I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying that they are.
Then why would they be lowering the standards?
I don't know. Why are they lowering the standards?
Just so you know, 5% of pilots are female, 4% are black. So you're talking about this widespread takeover of minorities and women when that's not actually true.
I'm not saying there's a widespread takeover.
Well, you're saying that the standards are being lowered because of certain people. You don't believe in DEI, right? Do you not believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion?
I think we should be treat people according to their skills and their integrity, and that's it.
Do you know that studies show?
Studies show.
Yeah, well, we can look them up. So your reaction to studies show and understand, right?
You mean studies show? It's like, bro, you can't do that. What do you mean? You're so fucking stupid, dude. The fuck do you mean? Studies show. You're not, dude, I hate this. Look, I am no big city lawyer. I am not this like fucking elitist guy at all. Okay? But nothing frustrates me more than dumb motherfuckers being like, studies show, sure. Like, what do you mean? What are you doing? What the fuck? How else can we arrive at fucking conclusions? Like, what? I hate this fucking anti-intellectual slant where people unironically hold up idiocy as a virtue. I am more virtuous because I have not been tainted by what you talk about as studies and empirical evidence. I know you're busy, but do we have to be on camera tonight? Dude, I don't fucking know. Ask Will. Why are you asking me? That's why Norm kept quoting people in excerpts from books. Yeah. What the fuck? Oh man, Norm actually lost the argument in my head canon because he kept quoting historical facts and statements from people at the time. And you're not supposed to do that. What you're supposed to do instead is what? Agree with me, I guess. Do you think anti-intellectualism has gotten worse over time? I think it fucking adapted to the new circumstances. That's what I think happened. Like it always existed, but now with the internet, like I said, because you're anonymous and there's like no way to understand that the person that you're talking to is the biggest fucking dumbass of all time. A lot of people with that anonymity can take advantage of that anonymity and present themselves as like communicators who are grounded in logic and reasoning. COVID, I think, really accelerated the anti-science narratives. But it is very odd that a guy who fucking literally hires scientists and engineers to build that shit behind them is over here being like, fuck studies. Bitch, without scientific achievements, without any kind of fucking interest in like evidence whatsoever, you couldn't be able to build that. How do you think you build that car? COVID made people very comfortable with being stupid. There are many good examples of people who can portray their own stupidity as intelligence, not even anonymous all the time. Barry Weiser, people are very out in the open about who they are. I think people also are desperately looking for other people who agree with them. And there are a lot of, even extra Emily cooked Mr. Barilla.
All right, we want 10 to 11 minutes al dente.
Okay, dude. New and relevant.
Listen to a word I said? Did you listen to a word I said?
Huh.
Right? Because I always like to point to an exact study, right?
Sure.
Is Elon not just grifting? Why are you surprised you didn't question? Of course he's grifting. I do think that his like right-wing opinions are real though. I'm just shocked that he's like not even grifting well. Like it doesn't even take for someone to be like well read to present like a decent argument. That's what I'm shocked by. I feel like maybe back in the day, maybe I'm like being nostalgic as an old man, but I do feel like at least people used to try and make an argument so you could like address exactly what was wrong with their argument. You could go into it. That's why I gave the example of the bell curve, right? Like even the Sam Harrises of the world, regardless of their Islamophobia, would try to present a narrative, sometimes literally including the bell curve, to like neatly tie everything together. Nowadays, you don't need to do that. You just need to say the talking points. And the talking points are completely devoid of facts, and you can even cast aside facts. You can just go, ugh, sure, whatever. Some studies are bullshit. Yes, I agree. Not all studies are equal. Okay? But again, when you do present a study, now we can look through it. Now we can find out why we can disparage the study. We can cast it aside. Okay? But if you don't fucking do anything, you don't even present a study and you just go, no, this is my opinion and it's right. And maybe in the future, someone will correct me with some, maybe in the future, someone will back me up with like Twitter replies. Well, then I can't fucking argue with you, man. I can't argue with you at all. You just didn't even present anything. You just said my opinion is right because I thought of it. And I'm mommy's special boy. I'm mommy's special boy, and you have to listen to me. Me.
Something that is factual. It's the same thing when you talk about, well, let's see what the replies are on Twitter or on X.
Yeah, so
I feel the same. I feel the same way about that. But this is what studies have shown, and people will reply and they'll say that companies with more diversity in their leadership teams have reported higher innovation rates than those with lower diversity or low diversity, and they're better companies and they make more money. This whole idea about DEI, if you go woke or whatever, you go broke, that's not necessarily true. People with diverse leadership teams and diverse workers make more money and more innovative.
Like I said, my view is that the only basis for promoting somebody should be their skills, talents, and their integrity, and that's it.
I want to ask you about, there's a federal government EEOC. They are also currently involved in a lawsuit against Tesla that alleges that there's a history of widespread racial harassment against black Tesla employees, as well as a pattern of retaliation for speaking out. What do you say to that?
I don't believe that is true. I think we've got a very good, like if you walk around the Tesla Fremont plant, I think it's a very good atmosphere. In fact, I practically lived there for 3 years.
He's like, the vibes are really good. There's not even a single black person. Okay. The vibes are so good, bro. Trust. No black people, vibes on top. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I mean, there were some black people in the past, and then we, you know, discriminated against them. It was a little costly, big lawsuit. You might have heard about it. Okay. But now, no black people, it's fucking tight.
Trying to make the production work.
Were you aware, if you lived there, were you aware of such behavior?
I never saw it.
So you're saying that this is not true, it's not happening?
Well, I mean, there's over 20,000 people. So you say, like, oh, if there's over 20,000 people in one building, well, is everyone going to behave perfectly? No. Did I see any situations that I thought were improper? I did not.
Let's talk about
what percentage oh wow, they're not being improper around me, the boss man, is one way to look at it. Or the other much funnier way to look at it is that I don't think it's improper that they call it the plantation, the Fremont facility. I think that was the one, right? Like I gave that name to the facility, so I don't think it's improper. I mean, there is literally not a single fucking thing you can say about this. He objectively was so in the wrong that a court found him in the wrong for racial discrimination and harassment and forced him to pay millions of dollars. Workers at Tesla also allegedly refer to the factory as the slave ship or the plantation. In addition to other slurs, one black worker heard these racial slurs as often as 50 to 100 times a day. Some workers at Tesla with tattoos of the Confederate flag would make their tattoos visible to intimidate black workers, according to the lawsuit. Yep, that's the one. But dude, you don't understand. You don't get it. The vibes were tight, okay? The vibes were fucking awesome. And also, not only were the vibes awesome, also, by the way, California plant with Confederate tattoos is so funny to me for many reasons, especially considering that, like, the fuck are you doing with a Confederate tattoo in California? But I know inland California has a lot of white supremacists, man. I know. I just think it's like hilarious when I see someone from Ohio rocking the fucking stars and bars repping the Confederate flag, Ohio as well. And it's like, I know that there's plenty of racists there. It's just like, what are you doing? This is historically not an area that you were welcome. You know what I mean? It makes no fucking sense. Anyway.
Trans rights and the woke mind virus, because you've talked about that a lot. You write about that a lot on the thing. You have been deeply outspoken about the issue of trans rights. You posted trans rights. You posted that pronouns in bio mean the woke mind virus ate your brain. Do you know what the term woke actually means?
It's come to mean a lot of things.
But what originally it was meant to mean, it's just being aware of inequities in society and being aware of facts and history.
Yeah, I think it's come to be. I think being aware of inequities in society is fine, of course, but trying to blame everything on trying to make everything a race issue is, I think, divisive and corrosive to society.
Even as it relates to trans issues, which is what I'm.
Yeah, race or gender or whatever.
You think that society blamed everything on racism now?
It blames a lot of things on it, and yeah.
You think that's unfair?
Yeah.
Why?
I think we should not make this a constant subject. I think we need to move on. I think we should.
Damn, bro, I can't believe the apartheid guy is saying, perhaps very bravely, okay, brave take from the apartheid guy. It's not the racism that sucks. It's constantly mentioning that it exists that sucks. Just want to mention that real quick. Racial inequalities are one thing. Constantly mentioning that they exist, however, that's the real problem. Okay, I say as a guy who grew up in apartheid South Africa, it's fucking, kind of a yikes thing for me. I saw this growing up. It's like everyone was always talking about this thing called an apartheid, and it's like, I didn't see it. There were no black people around me. In my father's emerald mind, maybe, right? There were some black people there. I didn't talk to them, but the vibes were really cool. I didn't hear anything that was disparaging. Yes, they, said the most heinous shit to the black people that were working in the emerald mines, but I agreed with them, so it wasn't actually concerning at all to me, because it's all about how I receive things. Remember, the existence of racial inequality is not a problem. Me hearing about it is the problem. It's me. My feelings must be spared.
Treat people like people.
You don't agree that this country was founded on racism and founded on slavery and in many ways inequities? That still continue on to this day?
I think every country at that time, and I think even today, was extremely racist. Every country. And obviously slavery was present in about half of this country. And no, but was not present in the North. There was racism for sure. But I think we want to look to the future rather than the past.
He said there was no slavery in the North, just racism. It is pretty funny to be a South African dude. Okay, then look at Don's face. Look, I hate Don Lemon, but at the end of the day, he's still a black American dude talking to a guy who's trying to educate him. A guy from South Africa, apartheid South Africa, trying to educate him on racism is over, Don. Okay? Racism is over. It's fine.
And instead of engaging in constant rehashing of the past, because in fact, if you look at history, if you study history broadly, everyone was a slave. Everyone.
Yes. Well, not everyone was a slave.
No, everyone was a slave.
Okay, but
we are all descended from slaves.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I love this dude. My favorite type of argument, straight up. Just like classic dumbass white guy argument. Dude, it's just like everyone was enslaved at a certain point. Just like get over it. Is that what happened? Is that how society advanced? Because like the Irish got over it. By the way, chattel slavery is unique in its cruelty, in its mass adoption, and also how long it continued for. So that's the reason why no historian would ever agree to like, everybody got slaved. Everybody got enslaved at a certain point. Irish historians would not agree to that. Okay? It's about continued material inequalities. It is about the gross human rights atrocities that were committed. For example, maybe he should ask Elon, like, okay, so the Holocaust happened. Would you tell the Jews to get over it? Or do you think that, like, Germany was wrong for offering reparations? You know? Or do you think that Jews got over it and that's why they were able to, in the Western world and in many other places, like, be able to become more prominent individuals in society? Or do you think that the in-group that normally would continue their oppression brought them into the in-group? Perhaps there is one thing missing from black people in this equation. You know, being offered to be a part of the in-group. He probably thinks it's he probably best not to ask Elon about Jews. Yeah, I mean, I would like to hear his opinions on it. He did say that he did say that is exactly the truth to a guy saying Jews are bringing barbarian non-whites into the Western world. So maybe it is best that Elon doesn't respond to that question.
Well, all of us.
Yeah.
So it's just a question of when. Was it more recent or less recent? That's it.
Right.
But what future do we want? Is this something we want to make part of our constant dialogue forever, or do we want to say, like, let's just move on and treat everyone?
This is again painful white guy take. Because the only way that this touches him is the dialogue, is just the mere mention of it, is when he hears it. You know what I mean? So that's why in his mind, it's like, yeah, why are you still talking about it? Like, we've already moved on. He's like, I've moved on from it. Like, shut the fuck up. And it's crazy because, like, there's still very obvious material inequalities that exist and persist in contemporary society due to chattel slavery and also what we did after the abolition of slavery. It's ridiculous to be like, oh, just fucking move on, you know? I don't get it. Just stop talking about it. People wouldn't have to talk about it. By the way, talking about it shouldn't bother you unless you're a fucking racist piece of shit. But people wouldn't find themselves in need of talking about it if there weren't so many people who just like refuse to acknowledge it. You know? Let alone offer any restitution whatsoever.
According to just who they are as an individual.
I agree with you with that. That's the ideal. But what the evidence shows is that that's not what's actually in practice.
I think we're doing better than anywhere else.
That's true. I agree with that. But that doesn't mean anything that doesn't mean a lot.
Holy fuck. That is 1914. Cocaine fiends are a new southern menace. Murder and insanity increasing among lower class blacks because they have taken to sniffing since deprived of whiskey by prohibition. Oh my God. Those who are saying F are going to come back from that mini F to see the most unimaginable New York Times title I've ever seen in my entire god dang life. That's insane. They're nothing if not consistent. To be fair, they are very consistent. You are right on that. They are. Literally look to how they cover Israel right now and what Israel is doing in Gaza, and then look back in time to see how they covered Adolf Hitler, and you will understand exactly what I mean. Okay? Straight up. There is never an atrocity that the New York Times will not whitewash. Okay? They love that shit. They're like, listen, I'm in it for all of the ethnic cleansing. Doesn't matter who's doing it, okay? If it's being done to Jews, I'm defending the guys doing the ethnic cleansing. If it's being done by Israel, I'm still going to defend the guys doing ethnic cleansing. It doesn't matter. I am pro ethnic cleansing is the New York Times position. God damn. You inadvertently hit the nail on the head with, does this guy have any thoughts of his own? Even since 2013, I recognize that Elon's whole deal was his high levels of credulity. Whatever has his attention, he believes it to be real with little capacity for criticism. It used to be sci-fi video games that had his attention. Now it's his Nazi stands on Twitter. You always try to make... What? Bro, it's 6:43. Don't do that. It's 6:43. That's insane. Okay, you're getting an hour off. Like, come on. That's insane that you tried to debate me. At a certain point, you're just being annoying on purpose. Wait, what? Makes better marksmen. Many of the wholesale killings in the South may be cited as indicating that accuracy in shooting is not interfered with is improved by cocaine. For a large proportion of such shootings have been the result of drug taking. But I believe the record of the cocaine N-word paper record near Asheville, who dropped 5 men dead in their tracks, using only 1 cartridge for each, offers evidence that is sufficiently convincing. I doubt if this shooting record has been equaled in recent years, certainly not by a man under the influence of any other form of intoxicant. I dare I say, for the bad marksmanship of the drunken man is proverbial, while the deadly accuracy of the cocaine user has become axiomatic in Southern police circles. Since everyone in authority in the South is alive to the dangers of the cocaine habit and eager to suppress it, 2 questions arise. How does the black man get his supply? And why do not the officers in authority prevent his getting it? Cocaine refills your dead eye. Bro, Biden was in Congress when this was published. Okay, bro, this was 1918. Okay, or 1914. Okay, no. All I'm hearing is cocaine makes you lock in. Yes. You want to know why you're hearing that? Because that is what they're saying. Because I don't think cocaine was illegal back then. That's the thing. It's just they don't like it when black people use it because it makes them really good at killing white people, is the fucking article. They literally are saying this medicine is making black people kill white people too good. I don't know if you recall. I don't know if you understand. They're saying one black guy killed like 5 dudes. Okay, 6 years after, someone said cocaine was made illegal in 1920. 6 years after this, they made it illegal. No. Bro hit the dead eye. Did a 1922 article advise not to worry about Hitler's anti-Semitism? An early New York Times report about Adolf Hitler woefully misjudged his virulence of anti-Semitism. Yes, they did. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier. I was like, look at what New York Times is saying now about like Benjamin Netanyahu, and then look at what they said about Hitler's anti-Semitism. New York Times on the 10th of February 2015 re-released the first article they ever published about Adolf Hitler, who was the chairman of the Nazi Party. The story, dated in the 21st of November 1922, opened with this introduction. I read, the New York Times gave its readers the first glimpse of Hitler in a profile that got a lot of things right. Its description of his abilities to work in a crowd in a fever pitch. Wait, oh, this is just like re-releasing it with notes. I want to see. No, man, I want to see the OG one. Okay, here. New popular idol rises in Bavaria. Hitler credited with extraordinary powers of swaying crowds to his will. Forms gray-shirted army, armed with the blackjacks and revolvers and well-disciplined. They obey orders implicitly. Leader of reactionary, is anti-red and anti-Semitic and demands strong government from the United Germany. Next to the high cost of living and the dollar, the Hitler and his Hakenkreuzlers are the popular topic of talk in Munich and other Bavarian towns. This reactionary, nationalistic, and anti-Semitic movement has now reached a point where it is considered potentially dangerous, though not for the immediate future. Hitler today is taken seriously among all classes of Bavarians. He is feared by some, enthusiastically hailed as a prophet and political economic savior by others, and watched with increasing sympathetic interest by the bulk who apparently are merely biding by the psychological moment to mount Hitler's bandwagon. Undoubtedly, the spectacular success of Mussolini and the Fascisti brought Hitler's movement to the fore and gained popular interest and sympathy for it. Another condition favorable to the outbursts of the movement is a widespread discontent with the existing state of affairs among all classes in the towns and cities under the increasing economic pressure. Hitler's Hakenkreuz movement is essentially urban in character. It has not yet caught a foothold among the hardy Bavarian peasantry and